Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Salustio here, episode number 2 at eLive, Ellucian Live, that is, here in rainy now. First episode, we were cloudy. Now we're rainy. New Orleans, Louisiana, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. I do want to remind you that if you are here listening at the conference or you're in attendance, that we are set up here in a massive hall by the keynote area where Laura Ibsen just gave an amazing keynote, by the way. And we're selling books, commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, and we're podcasting live, and you just can't beat that combination of things. So we've got our guest with us. She's here. I'm going to bring in right now. She is Kirsten Weeks, and she is the Senior Director of ESG at Ellucian. Kirsten, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me. I love your podcast. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm a huge fan of you and the work that you're doing. You know, the first question I have, and it's not, I think it's pretty typical definitely across higher education, is ESG. What exactly is ESG and why is it important? Let's start there.
No, I think that's a great place to start. And sometimes when I speak about my role, instead of the term ESG, I may use the term corporate social responsibility.
That one people know.
Yes, that one people know. And particularly, that may be more familiar in higher ed.
Mm-hmm.
ESG is a term that you hear a lot in the investor community. We're reading a lot about it in the news today. There's a lot of discussion about it. But really, it's, what is our focus on our impact on the environment, on those things that we do outside of just the core development of our solutions and services, which also, of course, help to empower student success.
Right.
But what are those programs that we have outside of that core mission and that core technology that are helping our communities, that are helping students? And so it's a focus on those two areas, and as well as governance and our transparency. Are we an ethical company? What are we doing to protect our customers from a data privacy perspective? How transparent are we in talking about what we're doing? So all of those elements go into ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance.
The governance point is really important right now. We talk a lot about privacy and student data and locking down social security numbers and avoiding breaches and cybersecurity. Is that a huge focus for y'all right now in Ellucian in general?
Absolutely. And we have an incredible chief privacy officer as well. There's just a tremendous amount of focus on this issue. I would encourage you to take a look at Ellucian.com. There are white papers. There's a blog dedicated to data privacy. There's just a tremendous amount of work because it is so vital and it's absolutely fundamental to everything we do. And of course, earning the trust of our customers, which is essential.
Nailed it.
So the conference has just started, and there's like 5,000 people here. So this is already a smashing success so far. The team's pulled it off. Lots of sessions already going on, but you're here to talk about something unique and new. And I'm going to just give you the microphone. You get to say whatever the heck you want.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are launching the Ellucian Foundation Path Scholarship Program today. Anyone who's interested in reading about it can go to stayonpath.org. This is a program that we have had in place since 2020, and it is focused on providing resources for institutions to support students in financial distress. So the program is, a scholarship program. Institutions go to our website and they apply. We focused on different aspects of the higher ed spectrum every year. So for example, this year in 2023, 2-year public institutions in the United States are eligible to apply.
I remember you guys did community colleges did you do community colleges in the first year? And there was like 500,000, I think 500,000 is sitting out in my head, or some immense amount of money.
Right. That's exactly right. And that's a similar amount in terms of the total of scholarships we will provide this year. So we are focused on that 2-year public sector. We're strongly encouraging, by the way, minority serving institutions to apply.
Nice.
This is a sector that we feel strongly about investing in. And then outside of the U.S., we also offer the scholarship to higher education institutions that are providing bachelor's and master's degrees in Australia, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Lebanon, Mexico, Ireland, and the UK.
Chile, I'd see this guy. Who lives in Chile? Your wife's family lives in Chile. Alvin Freitas, and we have EdUp en Español, by the way, now, where one of our co-hosts of that podcast is from Chile. So you saw him perk up when he said that. That's global. That's global impact.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty incredible. So how does that work then? Is there different segments of the scholarship for each, or is it just those countries can apply all for the same pot? Or are there different pots?
Yeah,
so to speak?
So those countries apply for the same pot, and we have a robust and independent review process. So they apply, and we're looking at the same elements that we are in the United States. When we provide these dollars, we place a lot of trust in the institutions. They have tremendous flexibility to determine what works best for their students. And so that's the conversation that is this application, which is, tell us about your student body, tell us about how this could benefit them and how you plan to use the dollars and distribute the dollars.
And so there's reporting, there's a back channel of reporting then. So if they qualify for X amount of dollars, Ellucian says, we want to know what the impact is of those dollars, right?
Absolutely. And we hear from students as well as institutions. So we hear from students that they use these dollars for needs like childcare payments or during COVID, to buy a laptop to attend class virtually. We also hear them say, listen, I just had a small amount of tuition that I needed to pay, and this helped me bridge that tuition gap. And I think from the institutions, what we hear is that PATH can be an important tool in a broader toolkit. We heard today about Hudson County Community College, which is just an extraordinary institution. I've had a chance to spend some time there as well. They were a PATH scholarship recipient in 2022. And, we heard the phrase Hudson is home. And that's an institution that knows its students, that surrounds its students holistically with support. And so PATH can be part of that holistic support when a student expresses a need and they say, well, I've got a resource for that. And they can reach into that toolkit and use PATH to help that student so that they can stay on track and achieve their educational goals. And that is our goal with the program, to keep students on track.
That resonates with me so deeply, because we talk about it on this podcast all the time about the fender bender for $75 or the cell phone bill that comes in, and a student goes, you know what, I just don't have enough money to do both of these things. I can't lose my phone, so I've got to not go to school this term. There is so much fallout for what many of us who I think are in the privileged category would consider not a lot of money, but to students who are scraping by and so on, that is a lot of money, and it's justification to leave school. So really, you're helping with retention. You're helping with keeping our populations of students in school, because we know COVID created a lot of retention issues. So this is about bringing students back or keeping them in. And how did this even start? Was this a COVID thing? Can you reach back in time and tell me how this whole program came to be and how it's accelerated now?
Absolutely. No, you're exactly right. It's, in some cases, it can just be relatively minor bumps in the road that can derail a student, and that is what we are trying to help. We want to support them and get them over that bump in the road. So this was a program that was born of a concern during COVID, that we knew students and institutions were just under incredible pressure.
Yep.
And so in 2020, the dollars in particular were focused on students who had been negatively affected by COVID-19, whether it was a parent losing a job or they themselves, having to make a really dramatic change in the way they attended school, which in some cases we heard about those needs. And we've heard from students who have said, I had a parent who I lost a parent to COVID, and that affected my ability to do a number of things,
concentrate even.
In particular, pay that last bit of tuition. And so we knew that we were supporting both our institutions and our students through this very difficult time. And so that has continued since 2020. We've opened up the scholarship to different segments of the higher ed spectrum.
When did you decide to continue it?
Mm-hmm.
Was it because it was so impactful and needed? And was there conversation around, well, COVID's over, do we just ditch this? Or no, I mean, it probably wasn't conversation just like that, but you get my point. Like, is this something we should fund and continue? Can you give us a little insight around how that took place? Because this is an ESG kind of thing, isn't it? This is about helping the community of students. It's about more that student who stays in school and graduates, that goes on to work in their community. There's all sorts of factors that are boosted from there. Why does this continue? Why doesn't this just go away at Ellucian? And how big of a part did you play in keeping it going?
Well, the biggest champion for this program is our president and CEO, Laura Ibsen.
Amazing.
And, she was she initially really conceived of this program and said, this is something we must do. And it was actually rolled out very quickly and very effectively initially. And so having a champion in Laura is extremely important. And we also created the Ellucian Foundation about a year after the program was initially started. And so that is a separate entity that is now home to the Path Scholarship Program. And so we have a board of leaders who are very passionate about seeing this continue. But I think what's most inspiring and critical and the reason that we all have such tremendous momentum and want to continue to see this program invest in these institutions is the stories that we hear.
Oh, I bet.
When we get connected with a school like Hudson County Community College and we can hear about their Hudson Scholars Program and their extraordinary retention rates, and know that they've got a vast infrastructure there that is supporting those students, but knowing that we were able to be part of that solution for them. It's at the core of what we do. We're a very purpose-driven employee team at Ellucian. That's why we are dedicated to empowering student success. And so it really fits with our culture and everything that gets us up in the morning and gets us excited about being part of Ellucian.
Epic.
We just heard Malcolm Gladwell talk about money going to schools that don't need it, right? That was a big part of, I think the biggest applause he got during the keynote where Laura was interviewing him was, it makes no sense for the institutions who don't need money to have, people donate money to these institutions that have, $5 billion, they have more millions and billions of dollars than gross national product of a lot of countries, right? This program, you're vetting institutions that really are in need to help students, right? That's an important component of this. You're just not dishing out cash to an institution that's doing so well and students are all successful and nobody's having any problems just because you're trying to play a part. You're really vetting these institutions and making a true difference for, I don't want to say the little guy in some, but your rural institutions who are notoriously having trouble with recruitment and graduates who move out of those rural areas and don't stay. And then, so there's a lot of recruitment challenges there. So that's an important component of this, isn't it? That you're helping institutions by propping them up in a way.
I think that's right. I think we do ask them, tell us about your students. And also tell us about the programs you already have in place. So, we have awarded many schools that have an infrastructure that demonstrates that they have a deep understanding of the needs of their students and a commitment to this holistic support around the student. And then Path can be, as I mentioned, another tool in the toolkit, and another part that lifts them up and lifts their students up as well.
Wow. So do you get to look at all these applications yourself?
That's a really important question. We believe strongly that we have to have an independent team, a team outside of Ellucian who evaluate our applications.
Nailed it.
So we work with a group called Blue Icon Consulting. They've been an incredible resource for us, and they have put together each year a group of diverse and thoughtful financial aid experts from institutions across the country, some who have expertise in international universities as well.
Nice.
And they go through that process. We don't. And so they have a really great process for taking a look at the different criteria and recommending those.
I think that is such an important part, right? Because it's not like Ellucian employees sitting around at a table going, all right, what institution do we like and not, right? This is a independent party looking at it based on need or capacity of the institution to be able to distribute those dollars, track those dollars, report back. And then that way it's like a scholarship selection process. And they're saying, here are the nominees or winners of this, right? And then you can then execute and deliver the dollars. So that's an important part, having that third party vet those out so that you keep it as honest and transparent as possible. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's a really important key. And, having that third party, it also helps with, you get to, or you give them a set of criteria. I'm imagining like, here's what we like, and then they can match essentially, right? Or vice versa, or they come up with a criteria.
Yeah, so it really has been a collaborative effort. We lean heavily on their expertise and they are experts in many cases, they were in financial aid roles in higher education institutions. And so they have been very helpful in helping us understand our Ellucian Foundation team understand, this is how we think we'll be most successful.
Yeah, and how the dollars flow and how people qualify.
Yes,
that's good.
Yes.
So so you said at the beginning, today is the day.
Yes. So the application opened today.
Who's going to get on that? Who's going to be the first to get on that? All right.
So stayonpath.org.
Stayonpath.org.
Yes. And the application deadline in the United States is May the 12th. And the application deadline in the 9 countries outside of the United States is May the 26th.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that, but I got to get everybody's attention first. Hold
on.
Attention. Okay, now do it again.
Okay.
For anybody who wasn't listening, you're going to be listen now.
Attention.
Okay, got it.
So the application deadline for institutions in the United States, and again, that's 2-year public colleges, is May the 12th. And the application deadline for higher education institutions in Australia, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Lebanon, Mexico, Ireland, and the UK is May the 26th.
Okay, so you got 6 weeks if you're in the US, a little over 6 weeks, and about 8 weeks if you're in the countries that Kirsten mentioned. I would get on that. If you're really passionate about helping your students, this is a great way to open yourself up to something that's out there that exists. And I'm glad that you came and announced it, and that this is a big moment. Elvin's gonna already publish this episode probably like in an hour. So everybody who's here will be listening to it, hopefully, as they attend their different sessions. As we round out this episode, we always ask the same 2 questions of every guest.
Okay.
Number 1, what did we not say about either the scholarship or the work of ESG, Kirsten Weeks and her work of ESG at Ellucian? Anything you want to say, anything coming up, other initiatives, doubling down on this, whatever you want to say, open mic for a couple of minutes, and then I'll ask you the final one.
Sure. I think so. I would say about ESG, or corporate social responsibility at Ellucian, I think one of the most enjoyable parts of the role is that I am able to amplify the amazing work of colleagues across Ellucian. As I mentioned earlier, we're so purpose driven, and our employees are so purpose driven. That's why they're here, at Ellucian, and they just do extraordinary work across their communities, no matter where they are around the world. One example that we'll be hearing about here at Ellucian Live is the partnership that my colleagues in our Ubuntu employee resource group developed with Swipe Out Hunger.
Wow.
Swipe Out is a nonprofit organization. They partner with over 550 colleges and universities in the US and Canada to end student hunger. It's estimated that 1 in 3 students in the United States experience food insecurity.
It's amazing.
And you'll be hearing more from their executive director and director of programs, as well as a student activist on day 3 about this issue and about the sustainable solutions they've put in place. There are real solutions to this challenge. But we would not be highlighting them and showcasing them if not for the work of our employees. And these,
right.
These are passion points for them. These are, really organic relationships that have developed. So I think that's something I would like to share. We also have now published our most recent impact report at ellucian.com/impact. It actually went live today as well.
I don't have a button that says impact, or else I would have pressed it.
Okay. And you can take a look and read more about PATH. You can read more about Ubuntu and their great work, and really the full story. Look at it's such a great way to see an overview of what I think is such a fundamental and positive part of Ellucian's culture.
Yeah, when you come to a conference like this, or you're using technology like Ellucian, it's easy to think about it only in that way. But
yes,
the ecosystem is so much larger. And what an organization as large as Ellucian touches.
yes.
And that's the point you're bringing to the microphone here, is that there are so many other things going on to help students, environments, communities that Ellucian is dealing with. And that's, I think, a big part of why so many people are here learning more about Ellucian here at the conference at eLive here in New Orleans. Finally, and close out this episode, Kirsten, what do you see as the future for higher education?
So I was impressed today with the innovation panel that was led by Jeffrey Moore, and in particular by a statement that was made by the leader of Paul Quinn College. He used the term lifelong earning.
Nailed it.
Which, of course, is, we typically hear lifelong learning, also important and also addressed today from the stage. But I thought the model he and his team have developed, and that relationship they've developed with the businesses and the jobs in the community, and the connection, and just that focus on lifelong earning as the goal was so insightful, and certainly something I think we are seeing more of, and something I hope we'll hear more about, and we'll see.
That's awesome. That is a nice little term. That's tweaked that term, and it means a lot, I think. Well, here we are at Ellucian Live, New Orleans. I think it might have stopped raining now, but I can't see. Only Kristen can see behind me if it stopped. But I encourage you all to check out the sites that she brought, the impact report, PATH, all of those items that Ellucian is working on to better the community and their customers and the students that they serve. Kristen, thanks for coming on the podcast. Oh, let me do this. Ladies and gentlemen, there she is, Kirsten Week. She's Senior Director of ESG at Ellucian. Thanks for coming on the podcast to tell us about this amazing news and all the great work you're doing.
No, thanks. It was my pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
We're so happy to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.